The rain hammered against the windshield like 1,000 tiny fists, each drop a reminder that sometimes life throws you into storms you never saw coming. Marcus Webb gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles white against the worn leather, thinking about the electricity bill sitting unopened on his kitchen counter and his daughter's upcoming birthday. At 34, he'd learned that being a single father meant making impossible choices every single day between new shoes and groceries, between his dreams and her needs. He always chose her. He always would. That's why, when he saw the figure stumbling along the dark highway in a dress that seemed to glow, white even through the downpour, he didn't hesitate. Marcus pulled his beat-up Honda to the shoulder, hazard lights blinking orange against the storm, and rolled down the passenger window. "Ma'am, you okay?" The woman turned, and even drenched and shivering, there was something striking about her. Mascara ran down her cheeks in black rivers. Her elaborately styled hair hung in wet tangles, and her dress, an expensive-looking wedding gown, was torn at the hem and streaked with mud. Her bare feet were bleeding. I need to get away from here," she stammered, glancing over her shoulder like she expected someone to emerge from the darkness. "Please, I know this looks crazy, but please." Marcus had approximately 300 reasons to drive away. Strange woman, wedding dress, middle of nowhere. His 8-year-old daughter, Lily, was waiting at his mother's house, probably already in her pajamas, probably wondering why Daddy was late again. But there was something in this woman's eyes, raw, fear mixed with desperate hope, that made him unlock the passenger door. "Get in." She practically dove into the car, pulling the door shut with shaking hands. As Marcus pulled back onto the highway, he grabbed an old jacket from the back seat and handed it to her. "There's a blanket back there too," he said quietly. "You're safe now." "I'm Marcus. Where can I take you?" The woman wrapped herself in the jacket, her teeth chattering. "I'm Sophia, and honestly, I have no idea. I just ran. I couldn't do it. I couldn't marry him." Marcus kept his eyes on the road, giving her space to collect herself. The rain was letting up slightly, and in the dim glow of the dashboard, he could see her more clearly now. She was probably close to his age, with delicate features that spoke of a life very different from his own. That dress alone probably cost more than his car. "You ran from your own wedding?" A bitter laugh escaped her lips. "From a prison sentence dressed up as a wedding. Do you know what it's like to realize that everyone around you sees you as a thing to be acquired, rather than a person?" Preston Ashworth III, my ex-fiancé, he didn't want a wife. He wanted a trophy, a beautiful silent addition to his collection. The name hit Marcus like a physical blow. Preston Ashworth III. Even someone who barely followed the news knew that name. Billionaire real estate mogul. His face was on buildings downtown, his family name on hospital wings and university libraries. Marcus was driving around with the Runaway, bride of one of the richest men in America. That's Preston Ashworth," he said slowly. "You know him?" Sophia's voice carried a note of panic. "Only what everyone knows. He's kind of famous." Marcus glanced at her. "Which means you running away is going to be kind of a big deal." Sophia closed her eyes. "I know. His PR team is probably already spinning it. Poor Preston, humiliated by unstable woman. They'll paint me as crazy, ungrateful. No one will believe that behind closed doors he was controlling, manipulative, that he screened my phone calls, dictated who I could see, what I could wear." Her voice cracked. "That when I told him I wanted to wait, to really get to know each other, he said I'd already signed the contract. That's what he called our engagement. A contract, and I would fulfill my obligations." Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. He'd known men like that, though never at that level of wealth and power. Men who saw people as possessions. His own father had been like that. One of the reasons Marcus had sworn to be different. To raise Lily in a home filled with respect and genuine love. "So you ran," he said simply. "So I ran. Right from the altar. I heard the music starting, looked down the aisle at him, standing there with that smile, the one that never reaches his eyes. And I just bolted, grabbed my dress and ran out the back of the church. I've been walking for probably 2 hours. In a wedding dress, in a storm. Best decision I've made in 2 years. Despite everything, Marcus smiled. There was strength in this woman, the kind that showed itself in crisis. Well, I can't take you to a hotel. They'd recognize you. And I'm guessing you don't have your phone or wallet? Sophia shook her head. Left everything. My phone was tracked anyway. Preston always knew where I was. Marcus made a decision that his practical brain immediately questioned, but his heart knew was right. I've got a small place across town. My daughter Lily is at my mom's tonight, but she'll be home tomorrow. You can crash on the couch, clean up, figure out your next move. It's not much, but it's safe. Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes. You don't even know me. Why would you help me? Because someone helped me once, Marcus said quietly. When my wife died and I was drowning, trying to be a dad and work 2 jobs and just survive. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, she started watching Lily after school. Wouldn't take a dime. Said kindness isn't currency, it's contagious. You pass it on. They drove in silence for a while, the city lights beginning to appear on the horizon. Sophia stared out the window, and Marcus could see her shoulders slowly relaxing, the tension bleeding out of her frame. Tell me about Lily, she said softly. And so Marcus did. He told her about his bright, curious 8-year-old who wanted to be an astronaut and a veterinarian and a pastry chef. Sometimes all in the same day. About how she'd handled her mother's death with more grace than he had. How she left him little notes in his lunchbox. How she was the reason he got up every morning and fought to make the world a little better. By the time they pulled up to his modest apartment building, Sophia was smiling, a real smile that transformed her face. The apartment was clean but sparse. Marcus was suddenly aware of the mismatched furniture, the stack of library books, the child's drawings taped to the refrigerator. It was nothing like the world Sophia came from, but she looked around with something like wonder. It's perfect, she said. It's real. Marcus made tea while Sophia showered and changed into some of his old sweats and a t-shirt. When she emerged, scrubbed clean of makeup, her hair in a simple ponytail, she looked younger, more herself. They talked until 3 in the morning. Sophia told him about her childhood, wealthy but lonely, parents who loved her but showed it through money rather than time. About how she'd met Preston at a charity gala and been swept up in the romance of it, only to slowly realize she was being molded into someone else's vision of the perfect partner. Marcus shared his own story, high school sweethearts, Sarah's cancer diagnosis when Lily was just 3, the long fight they'd lost, the struggle to be both parents to a grieving child while managing his own grief, how he'd given up his dreams of finishing his engineering degree to focus on being present for his daughter. You gave up everything for her, Sophia said softly. I gave up nothing that mattered, Marcus corrected. She's my everything. The degree can wait. Her childhood can't. Something shifted in Sophia's expression. I've never met anyone like you. Over the next 3 days, Sophia stayed in the small apartment. Marcus called in a favor from a lawyer friend to help her navigate the legal implications of leaving Preston. It turned out that Sophia had her own money, an inheritance from her grandmother that Preston had been trying to get her to sign over in a prenuptial agreement. She'd been stalling, some instinct telling her not to. Lily came home to find a friend of Daddy's staying with them. The two bonded instantly over a shared love of reading and Sophia's seemingly endless supply of stories about places she'd traveled. Marcus watched them together, his daughter animated and happy, this stranger who'd stumbled into their lives, bringing a lightness he hadn't seen in a while. On the 4th day, the news broke. Runaway bride, jilted billionaire. The media had the story, though Preston's team was indeed painting Sophia as unstable, a gold digger who'd gotten cold feet when asked to sign a fair prenup. Sophia sat on Marcus's couch, watching the lies unfold on the news, and took a deep breath. I need to tell my story, the truth. Are you sure? Marcus asked. These people, they have resources, power. And I have the truth, Sophia interrupted. And I have evidence, emails, text messages, recordings of him threatening me when I tried to break up with him before. I was scared to use them, scared of what he'd do. But I'm not scared anymore. She looked at Marcus and Lily, curled up together on the couch, and smiled. "You both showed me what genuine goodness looks like, what real love and care look like. I spent so long in a gilded cage that I forgot there was another way to live. You gave me a lift when I was at my lowest, Marcus. You didn't have to. You had every reason to drive past, but you stopped. And that choice changed everything." The interview Sophia gave 2 days later was watched by millions. Calm, composed, and backed by evidence, she told her story of psychological abuse, control, and manipulation. Preston's empire of public opinion crumbled as more women came forward with similar stories. His business partners began to distance themselves. The golden boy of real estate was revealed to be tarnished underneath. Through it all, Marcus stayed out of the spotlight, supporting Sophia but never seeking credit or attention. When reporters found out about the good Samaritan single father who'd first helped her, he declined all interviews. "I just did what anyone should do," he told them. She needed help. 3 months later, Sophia stood in Marcus's apartment one last time. She'd found her own place, was working with a non-profit supporting women leaving abusive relationships, had started to rebuild her life on her own terms. But before she left, she handed Marcus an envelope. "Don't argue," she said firmly. "It's not charity. It's a scholarship fund I'm setting up for Lily's education and for you to finish your degree. It's funded by the settlement from Preston. Seems fitting that his money goes toward helping the people who showed me what real humanity looks like." Marcus's eyes filled with tears. "Sophia, I can't." "You can, you will, because that little girl deserves every opportunity, and so do you. Because kindness should be rewarded, even though I know that's not why you did it." She smiled. "You gave a stranger a lift in the rain. You gave her safety, compassion, and hope. Let me give you this. Let me pass it on the way Mrs. Chen did for you." After she left, Marcus stood at his window, watching the city lights, holding the envelope. Lily came and stood beside him, slipping her small hand into his. "Is Miss Sophia going to be okay, Daddy?" "Yeah, sweetheart. I think she's going to be more than okay. You saved her, didn't you?" Marcus knelt down to his daughter's level, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "I think maybe we saved each other. See, sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest ripples. Sometimes stopping for someone in the rain changes everything. Not because you expect anything in return, but because it's the right thing to do. Like Mrs. Chen helping us? Exactly like that. And now we get to help other people too. We get to keep the kindness going." Lily hugged him tight. And Marcus realized that while he'd thought he was teaching his daughter about compassion and humanity, life had given him a reminder too. That in a world that often felt cold and transactional, where power and wealth could corrupt and control, the simple act of seeing someone in need and choosing to help, expecting nothing, just offering everything you can, that was revolutionary. He'd given a lift to a stranger in a torn wedding dress. She'd turned out to be a runaway bride fleeing a billionaire's control. But more than that, she'd been a human being in crisis. And he'd been a human being who chose kindness. In the end, that's all any of them were. Human, imperfect, trying their best. And sometimes in the rain and the darkness, finding light in each other. Sometimes the richest thing you can offer someone has nothing to do with money and everything to do with simply showing up, opening your door and saying, "You're safe now." That's the kind of wealth that changes the world, one small kindness at a time. And as Marcus tucked Lily into bed that night, reading her favorite story about brave adventurers and unexpected heroes, he knew that they were living their own adventure, one where the real treasure was the goodness they chose to put into the world, expecting nothing but hoping for everything. Because in the end, that's what being human is all about.